Just because you hear the silence, that doesn't mean that I'm being quiet. I'm praying. My head, my heart, my chest, my stomach, my hands, my knees, my ankles, my feet. Those visibly steady. Many times they're uneasy in so many. Hello again, everyone. Dr. Mack is here.
Good morning, everyone.
We've been having some email communication things, and our emails have not been getting to each other the last day or so. So she is here, everybody, and we've done our prayer and we've done 5 topics, but Dr. Mack is going to have a chance after we do hers to comment on the questions or the topics that I had. So Dr. Mack, would you have words and then you can start?
Well, would you like for me to link it by doing you asking your questions and I'll answer them and they'll run right into mine.
Oh, you
Want to
can
do?
go ahead on yours.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Uh, well, let's start at the very top, and that one had to do with sort of a surprise. I'm going to be out for a second, but guys, but I'm coming right back. I'm just reading the questions. Okay, number one, what was your reaction to the removal of Mike Waltz from the current White House administration? What was your reaction to the removal?
I'll
And
get,
I
I'll
hear
take
and I hear you smiling.
yours first. Yes, I heard about that. And Rubio is supposed to be taking on some extra duties, right? As
Yes.
advisor. And you know what? It doesn't phase me one way or the other because they're going to do what they do whether we say anything. And I know sometimes they say, well, you have to have you say so, you have a right. And I do have a say so to say I don't say so.
That is your say so, which is very confusing.
I like that. That's great, Dr. Mack, because I did hear about that. And he's talking about Rubio doing it. So, hey, how do you throw anyway? Okay, that's a great one, Dr. Mack.
Well,
I'm anxious to hear yours.
one of the things I thought about is that he ran for president against Trump, during that first election. However, he seems to have become an invaluable member of his cabinet. So he's putting him in charge. But notice he did not fire him. Waltz is going to he's being nominated, which means it
Mm-hmm.
has to be approved. He's being nominated as the UN ambassador for the United
Mm,
States.
mm.
So he can't do the you're fired situation because he doesn't want to. He wants to be, this is Trump 2.0. He doesn't want to come out that way, but he's moving him. But I expected it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I, I expected it. So, it was not a surprise. It took longer, but I think from the moment the first incident occurred, the very first one that occurred, I think they started working to get him out of there. I do. I truly do.
Mm-hmm.
So now, whether he makes that position, it seems to be a bad position. If I were in position, he offered it to Haley. You remember the United States ambassador, you know, and then he's offered it to someone at Huckabee, and
Uh-huh.
so yeah, wouldn't want that seat. It seems like it's sort of revolving, but yeah, I knew that something was going to happen. He couldn't
Mm-hmm.
say. And his high dollar donors don't want you to do this you're fired business. They want you to have a little class with it. So offer him another position.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, I wasn't real. There's a follow-up question about Hakeem Jeffries regarding this too. I wasn't really that was one of the cabinet members I wasn't real keen on to begin with.
Okay.
All right, number two.
Okay.
And and let's go with number two.
Okay.
And number two is, do you think that the rally held by the commander in chief as the 100-day interview uh, conducted was effective in advancing his campaign promises made earlier? Do you think that the rally held in Michigan by the commander in chief and the 100 days interview with ABC was effective in advancing the campaign promises that he made earlier?
To me, no, it's the same old, same old.
I knew you were going
Same
to say that.
old stuff
I knew you were.
over and over again. And I made sure that I watched it. As a matter of fact, I watched it before we came online. And it was just the same old, what is it, rhetoric, same
Yes,
thing.
yes.
I'm right, everybody else is
This is
wrong, with that superiority complex. And if you don't agree with me, then you are wrong, and I'm going to do something about it. As a matter of fact, he attacked the journalist, the reporter,
yes,
and
yes.
then the reporter, he did not give in to him, and I am so glad that he did not, because he tried to make that man say that that man has that M13 on his hand, and the man said no, he doesn't. And so the man finally, he said, well, just say yes or whatever he was saying. That's what he was saying to that reporter. Just say it. And the man said, well, we can agree to disagree. And he said, to that point. And then he went, tried to go on. And so it's the same old everything and the same explanation for everything. I've done this, I've done that, everybody else has done wrong. And, he's really good at, what is it all? Deflecting
Yes,
and talking about other people and degrading. In his mind, he's degrading, but we know better, because we highly respect people, President Biden and the people that worked with him, and Kamala Harris, and they did some wonderful works. And then, but according to him, everything was terrible. And when he came in, before he left that first time, everything was in perfect condition in
it
his
was not.
mind.
We
And
were in
then,
a pandemic.
exactly. And then the country was in terrible state, financial and everything, terrible state. And then he says that, but he left it in great condition. And then he came back, and then he had to fix everything. And so the man asked him about the food. He said, day one, he's going to lower the eggs, lower the food. And that person sat there and said that it has happened.
Not
And
when we're there.
he even said that gas in some places went down to $1 and something a gallon.
61 cents.
Yes, and
Yeah.
it might have in the lower states, it might have, because the farther you go down into the states like Louisiana, and even when you go farther down in Texas, the prices get low. But I guarantee they didn't stay like that. If they did, because he has no problem embellishing.
Wow. Well, I took a look at some articles this morning,
Uh-huh.
and I was reading one reporter's article where and it said there were 13 disclaimers on there, beginning with the tariff war and the
Mhm.
role that China is supposedly willing to negotiate, but they're not. That was a misnomer right there. The job figures, that was a misnomer as to
Oh,
what's
yes.
going up, what's going down. And the prices, as you so elegantly quoted, was not right. 13 of these different things that he
Right.
said doing that, between the the rally that he had, where it didn't get those numbers that he's
Mhm.
always claiming to have, as well as numbers from the rallies they had during the election. They were
Mhm.
not real numbers, they weren't true. So 13 of them, 13,
And
they
probably
called
didn't have but 13 and a half questions.
it, they were disclaimers. They didn't exactly fit what
They didn't sound right.
they don't verify. They don't verify. But I like what you said at the very beginning. I'm going to make it true. The definition of truth um, is what is believed by the majority of the people at a given time. So if I say it long enough and loud enough, what happens? It becomes quote unquote truth. But I don't go with that definition because the majority may not want to hear, the real truth. That minority over there, that silent group, or their truth is different. So we run to the scripture. I speak the truth, but he's not speaking the truth. So we'll go with that. Thank
And
you. Go
yes,
ahead.
and another thing about that majority thinking, and it is as they think. I don't care if all but one person says this is the
Not true.
truth. It is, if it's a lie, it's a lie, and the truth is not in it. I don't care how they perceive it, how many people they count saying that, okay, if 99% say it's the truth, it's the truth. It's still a lie.
All right. I agree. My. We're going down here and continue cause trouble. Go to number three. Number three. Do you believe these words from the president? He's got great entertainment skills, which is very important. Do you honestly believe that he considers, quote, being entertaining, unquote, one of the highest characteristics for a presidential candidate? And the he that we're talking to is the one and only Stephen A. Smith. We're talking about Stephen who
Uh-huh.
may be running for president in 2028.
Bless his heart.
Bless his heart.
Oh my goodness.
Do you
So,
believe?
do I think that, okay, in whose eyes? Oh, would you say that again, please?
Okay, the quote was from President Trump, who said that he's got great entertainment value, and I support him for 2028. In essence, that's it. Do you believe he was being sincere?
Oh, shoot.
That's the answer, Archie.
Anything. He said that he supports
He
Stephen A.
supports,
Smith.
yes.
Okay. Entertainment. Well, I
No,
guess.
he says that Smith he's great at entertainment,
Right. That's what I'm saying. Okay. And so he
and he'd be
supports
good.
him.
Yeah, in
Oh,
2028, he's
okay.
supported.
What is that?
Yeah.
Beauty is in the eyes of the beholder.
Right.
Okie dokie. So his opinion in his own eyes.
See, I'm having, and Smith on ABC said that he's getting all these big, what do you call them, big bucks, millionaires, who want him to
Okay.
run. But I need Stephen A. to take a look at why so many others are not running. There's a reason Oprah didn't get in the race. There's a reason, you know,
And
unless you want
Michelle.
to, yeah, your life turned inside out. You
Hmm.
don't really, you know, we remember, I don't know if you remember the early days of KKD when Steve Harvey would call on Friday, he and Stephen A would talk.
Okay.
Yeah, they talked on the radio. And Steve's goal was to get him to, he sent them some suits. He didn't like the way Stephen A was dressing and representing the people. So, but they would talk. But going all the way back, he is an open man. He says what he thinks, but that's not just being entertaining is not what I would consider my first value for first
Right.
quality for a president. I want you to be more than entertaining, which is why you went back to that rally format. You know,
Hmm. Hmm.
it bothers me that he seems to have all of that uh, acclamation and all of that praise.
Hmm.
You know, I don't know how he functions without it. But I would like for Stephen A. to reconsider 2028, not that far off, you
Right.
know, and it's not something just to try to get publicity, you know. You're
Hmm.
doing great on, as he said, Stephen A said, I just got a great contract with ESPN. and I don't need the money because
Uh-huh.
they're paying me the money. But it's because I don't like so much of what's going on, and I think I could do something about it. I think I could say something. Don't be thinking it's not the time for that. So I just
My Lord.
stay in your lane, as they say. You found your niche. Stay in your lane. You do great work in that lane. I listen to ESP because I like to hear what he has to say.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get an endorsement like that, stay away. Run fast.
As fast as you can.
Absolutely run. Run.
Yeah,
Let's
that's
run to number 4.
okay.
Governor Abbott is scheduled to sign the Senate bill for the school voucher bill, which will allow its placement on the ballots. However, there are opponents who have accused the governor of using hardball tactics to reach his desired goal. Do you feel that this is a fact or the current face of our current politics? Do you have to play hardball to get elected or get your bills through?
They do.
I like the way they do. Okay, explain.
That's the only way they know how to do things, to bully people, force people, deceptively uh, deceive people. And if you don't do this, and this, and it'll be harder. The same tactics all around, from the what is it, national to the state. When it comes to our state, it's all the same thing, and that hardball thing seems to get them what they want at the present time. So it's, to me, it's ridiculous, but that's what they do.
And I agree with you totally.
Yes, ma'am.
There's no doubt about it. According to Jeff's one of the articles that I read, every Wednesday, the governor would call someone in who one of the senators, the Republicans, especially the conservative Republicans, he'd call them in and he said, "You know what? If you're not supporting my school voucher bill, every bill that you send before me on this desk will not be signed.
It's terrible.
Every yeah, every fact that you try to get out there, we're going against it." And what he did, according to the same reporter who wrote 2 articles, is that he he tapped into the conservative movement,
Mm-hmm.
um, that was here already.
Mm-hmm.
And part of his campaign promise, remember, this has been going on for a while, since
Mm-hmm.
2022, and he sort of forced it through. So you have it now. How will it be implemented? You're talking about a very small fraction of kids in the state of Texas. What do you need to do to qualify to get the 10,000? And how many private schools are there that's 10,000? Most of them are 30,000 and up.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a lot of money, and you're leaving a lot of kids out.
And that's
But
the
I agree
plan.
with you. I agree with you.
That is the plan.
But
That is the plan. And yeah, that's it all the way around.
thank you. Should Chief Justice John Roberts have recused himself from the current First Amendment case involving the separation of church and state with the St. Isidore of Seville Catholic Virtual School, which is being argued before the Supreme Court? Should he have recused himself?
Okay, what is his interest?
The separation of church and state.
Yeah, but what is his? Why would
Oh,
he?
he's
Yeah.
he's he's actually gonna be on the ones who make decisions on this particular separation of church and state.
Okay, but
Um,
why should he recuse himself? Why is that?
because he has in the past, and I hate to say it like that,
That's okay.
in,
Go ahead.
in the past he has he has ruled on three three cases, three
Okay.
cases, um, wherein the separation of church and state was there. So when
Okay.
I first read it, I said to myself, he should recuse himself because he's done rulings on 3. But then I looked back and I said, okay, um, cases like Burwell versus Hobby Lobby and Trinity
Mm-hmm.
Lutheran Church versus Comer, they
Mm-hmm.
address religious freedoms and state funding. So can we give these state funders to this religious school, whether it's in real world or virtual? But he has also been a neutral person regarding them. He's advocated, you know, avoiding favorism and discrimination. And he supported the idea that religious organizations can receive public funding he's, if it serves a secular purpose.
Okay.
Um, he practices um, this idea that the founding fathers would have wanted this done, and he tries to balance things right. But there are ongoing debates, and I'm not sure he should be the one, but they're going to give us something before June 1st in this particular case.
Okay. Huh.
So that's the one that we talked about during our last session. This is the
Okay.
first one coming
Right.
before the
Church and
Supreme
state.
Court.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, it's from what you just read to us. It sounds like, I don't know, because, hey, he might as well stay on there. They might as well let him stay on
Yeah.
there because, hey, the way things are going now, one way or the other. But I think it sounds like he's for fairness, according to what you read.
And I'm glad you made that comment because when I initially started thinking about it, reading
Mm-hmm.
the case, and
Mm-hmm.
I watched an interview with the governor of Oklahoma and the superintendent of state schools in Oklahoma, I said
Mm-hmm.
he should recuse himself. But then
Mm-hmm.
it occurred to me, just as you just reasoned, he's done 3 of these, and
Mm-hmm.
he's trying to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps I should change my mind, and he should stay because he has tried.
Mm-hmm.
He's already been part of it.
Okay.
So that was one of those where I had to go, okay, you're gonna have to change your mind about this particular person because it's not what you're wrong in this one. Okay, but thank you for your comments, Pastor.
Oh, I enjoy these topics. See what we would have missed if we hadn't come back on today. And Apostle Washington is back on with me again, with us again. She was on within the first, and now she's here again. We're so happy to have you back. She is definitely our number one supporter. we, we don't want to make you jealous, Brother Lewis McCollister. You too.
Well,
Everyone, we thank you so much for being here with us. So we're going to go over our 1 o'clock time here, but go right ahead, Dr. Mack.
let's take a look at one of the ones that um, actually was the last question of the day. What
Okay.
is one link that you can make between the 2 public celebrations, Cinco de Mayo tomorrow and
Okay.
the Kentucky Derby tomorrow,
Okay.
May 5th, 2025? What is one link, just off the top of your head? Why do you think we should, well, first of all, understand our role and why should we be celebrating these 2? Because most people are going to say, I know what they're going to say. Okay, Cinco de Mayo is not for me, although I like the food, etc., etc. But and I love all that. But there's actually a link between the African American group and the and the and the celebration of Cinco de Mayo, because we want to make sure we understand first that Cinco de Mayo is not Mexico Independent Day. That's
Right.
a totally different day. And Cinco de Mayo was basically the celebration of American and Mexican culture and history. But do
Uh-huh.
you know that the link that a really important link?
So
And
you're saying the Kentucky Derby?
oh no, this is Cinco de Mayo. We're
Right,
going
but you
to
said what is the link between the Kentucky Derby and Cinco de Mayo?
no. What is the link between African Americans and Cinco de Mayo? And what is the link between African Americans and the Kentucky Derby? We'll take Cinco de Mayo
Oh,
first.
okay, African American.
Let's take Cinco de Mayo first. Well, let me give
Yeah.
you a hint. Do you remember Dr. Robinson had an exhibit at the African American Museum? I think you and I talked about that a couple of years
Hmm.
ago. I'm going to say to you, go back and take a look at the Underground Railroad that
Okay.
went south into Mexico.
Okay.
He had a beautiful exhibit there. You had your group that you meet with,
Mm-hmm.
and I think you were telling me that it was up. You all didn't meet in that particular space for the
Oh,
African,
okay.
but you did stick your head in. You saw the exhibits,
Hmm.
so it just makes me happy when
Uh-huh.
we know all about the Underground Railroad going
Mm-hmm.
north.
Mm-hmm.
Because so much has been written about that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if we think about the Underground Railroad that went south. So we have I did about three of the different journalists who reported on historians and did some excerpts from them. Becky Little is the first one that I did, and I wish I could show you the pictures that we have here. And she did it. It was published first in 2018, and it
Mm-hmm.
was updated March the 4th, 2025.
Okay.
And it's about the Underground Railroad that went
Okay.
south
Okay.
and the enslaved people in Texas, not only
Mm-hmm.
Texas, but Mississippi and Louisiana,
Mm-hmm.
who sought refuge in Mexico.
Yeah.
Now, slavery was
Oh, I know. Oh, go right ahead. It's
no,
coming
no,
to my mind now. Go right
no,
ahead.
no. Go ahead. When you went, oh, I got excited.
No, no, go right ahead. Because we have people, our people are in Mexico still because they have their
Yes,
own
yes.
tribes of people. Oh yes, I did. We do that together. Did I do that myself on one of my webcasts?
I don't
But I know
know.
I did a segment about that. I
Yeah.
did a segment, so it must have been me on Point of View
Okay.
because I
Well,
did.
but I
Oh
just
yeah, I'm
my
so yeah.
my whole point. This phone is gonna kill me. My whole point is that I want you to know when you're out there celebrating Cinco de Mayo, you have every right to because
Right.
your ancestors are there. They are
That's
there.
right. That's
And the
right.
number is staggering, Pastor Shirley. That Underground Railroad,
Mhm.
researchers estimate that between 5,000 and 10,000 people escaped bondage into Mexico.
Uh huh.
And this is by Maria Hammock, who did this from the University of Texas. And it became a gateway for them. And they went by foot, they went by horseback, they they stowed away on ships and ferries, anywhere they could get down there.
Mhm.
So Mexico refused to sign, this if Runaway Slave Retrieval Act.
Uh huh.
They refused to do it, and then they would have been signing at that time with the Republic of Texas,
Mhm.
so who made slavery legal in 1834 again. So
Mhm.
once they got to Mexico, they were free and they assimilated,
Mhm.
and some of them even joined the military. There's a story of an enslaved person who got to Mexico. His name was Tom, no last name,
Mhm.
but who had been a Sam Houston,
Mhm.
and he became a person who worked with he fought with the Texas fought in the Texas Revolution.
Uh
But once
huh.
he got across the border, he joined the Mexican military
Mhm.
and he fought, with them. Now the
Mhm.
fugitive slaves who could get in there, they got in. We talked about the different ways that they got in.
Mhm.
Um, but they had freedom in Mexico, you know,
Mhm.
and we won't go all the way in it about the slaveholders and how they handled them,
Right.
but and the slave acts that were passed that didn't do any good because they didn't come back. But they did hire, just like we had slave catchers going to the north, they did
Mhm.
hire slave catchers who went into Mexico or hung around that border. That border has always been a problem.
Mhm.
Um, to try and bring the slaves back, and they
Mhm.
didn't do it in a nice manner. They did it in a harsh. But there are some other Baumgarten, as long as some other persons who wrote about the persons um, who lived in Mexico, who became
Right.
part of it, and the culture sort of intermingled. You hear I never thought about it, but you hear it in the music, you taste it in the food, you see
Mm-hmm.
it in the clothing, you see it in the colorful clothing that they have. And I know I'm excited, and I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
be quiet, but uh, it's such a great thing to know. We had not just depending on going north, because okay, think about it like this. Look at it. If you lived in Louisiana, going north was a long ways to get to.
Right. Right.
But going south to Mexico, that's a
Right.
totally different kind of thing.
Right.
So I won't go into too much more. But
Okay.
I'm
Yes,
just excited.
I did a show on that, and so I've gone back and looked at the story here. Enslaved Africans were
Mhm.
brought to Mexico, especially by Portuguese and British slave traders, but then Afro Americans engaged in a variety of economic activities as slaves and as free persons. And let me go back here because I wanted to get this first part here. Uh, by the I wanted to get okay, yes, here it is. A monument of Gaspar Yanga,
Mhm.
founder of the first free town of escaped slaves in North America. The settlement is now known as Yanga, Veracruz.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
And
They
yes,
they settled around Veracruz. They did.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yes, ma'am. So, and oh yes, I remember. I'm gonna have to go back and find that and repost that because I did. I am so glad you brought this to our attention today because this is really great. A great story. Great story. And so, oh yeah. So, Dr. Mack, continue. Do you have something else to?
Yeah, yeah, you can see I'm excited.
Oh,
Not only that, but I used to work in a school setting where, and you hear about it on the news, black and brown fighting each other. Listen, if for no other reason, there's no reason. I mean, there's that. These were runaway slaves from America. These were what I call it America. Well, they were runaway slaves. They were trying to find some freedom. We have never, we didn't immigrate. So we didn't want to be in the status that we're in now. Let's talk a little bit about the jockeys in the Kentucky Derby. Now, my husband was he actually, this was his hobby. He could have
okay.
talked to you about hours and hours and hours. But this is an article from the Black Sport Hall of Fame,
Okay.
and it's the virtual role of the black jockeys in the horse racing history.
Mm-hmm.
And long before it was called the Sport of Kings,
Okay.
it was dominated in its early years by um, black jockeys. Um,
Okay.
it's in the Kentucky Derby started in 1875, and it was an exclusive sport. But the
Mm-hmm.
black jockeys played an indispensable role in shaping the history of horse racing. From the Civil War, horse
Uh-huh.
racing became the most popular sport in America, one of the most popular sports.
Uh-huh.
But it was these formerly enslaved individuals or descendants of enslaved
Mm-hmm.
individuals that caused it to become unparalleled. Their skill in handling the horses stem from their expertise of working around the stables
Mm-hmm.
and as plantation trainers. And there's some very famous ones. In 1875, 13 of the 15 jockeys were black. The African American Oliver Lewis rode to victory, and he was one of the ones who is commemorated
Uh-huh.
in the in the Kentucky Derby Hall of Fame. Now,
Okay.
black jockeys won 15 of the first 28 runnings of the Kentucky Derby. So
Mm-hmm.
anybody who's sitting there tomorrow saying, I have no interest here, then take a look at Oliver Lewis. And we can go down here to, there's another one. Um, they're all in the museum. They are given credit. And each year they make sure that people remember Jimmy Whitfield was
Okay.
another one. And this
Mm-hmm.
is in 1822. He was born. in Kentucky,
Okay.
and he was one of the greatest jockeys that ever sat a horse, as
All
it were.
right.
Sat a horse. There's just so many.
Wow, that is wonderful. That is some great, great, great information. We are everywhere. Everywhere there is success, our heritage is there. We are
Yes,
there.
and the
We
comment
cannot be denied.
cannot and will not. Once my dad used to say, if you get your foot in the door, darling, you do what you can do. You do
Right,
as much as you can do.
right,
If they don't let you in, you can't do it.
right.
And fighting is not the right way to do it because these jockeys did not fight. Heck, we had jockeys in Russia. Can you imagine
Mhm.
that?
I believe it. Okay.
But
All
when
right.
he came back, he couldn't go through the front door of a hotel.
Okay. Go right ahead, Dr. Mack.
No, that was it. I was just saying we had jockeys who went to Russia, when they started to decline in the U.S.,
Uh-huh.
and they won over there. They were number one. But when they came back into the United States to be with the families, because they missed their families,
Mm-hmm.
they couldn't even go, even they were superstars in Russia, through the front door of
Mm-hmm.
the Kentucky Derby Hotel. But life is better. You know,
Yeah.
out of this running, there are no black jockeys Saturday. I did check to see there are none. So we
None
will.
that said. Okay. Well, that's great. That's great information. Thank you so much, Dr. Mack. And I know I think I gave way back about 15 minutes. So I think we've done our whole hour. Gave back 15 minutes on the first webcast. So I have enjoyed your topics today, and I think we've had a great webcast. And
Thank
I
you.
enjoyed it. And so, and I made the announcement about Wednesday, but you go right ahead and make your announcement
Well,
again.
thank you, Pastor.
Yes,
Um,
ma'am.
on Wednesday at 1 o'clock, we do the webcast from the Biblical Files of Dr. Mack,
Hmm.
and we are in the book of First Timothy. We'll be looking at the mother Eunice, the mom, and we'll be
Okay.
looking at blacks that are alluded to in that book. And thank you
Okay.
so much for being patient today,
All
Dr.
right.
Shirley.
Everybody, we love you. And tomorrow night at 7:39 p.m., God willing, Sunday morning at 7 a.m. We love you, everybody. Enjoy the remainder of your day, night, evening, afternoon, midday, whichever it is, morning.
For you.
Enjoy, enjoy, enjoy. All right, we're going to do our outro here. Let me do it. Just because you hear the silence, that doesn't mean